morning, everyone. It is April 21st. Welcome. Thanks for coming. If you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. I hope everyone had a nice Easter yesterday. This is again the Broadwater County Commission meeting, April 21st. Just some preliminary housekeeping that we do every week. Broadwater County Public Meeting Policy, also known as the Civility Policy, follows Robert's Rules of Order. The purpose of this policy is to open Broadwater County public meetings to all county citizens. We realize we have a fiscal and fiduciary responsibility to conduct county business as efficiently as possible for all Broadwater County residents. Commission meetings are recorded and are on YouTube, so please state your full name prior to public comment for the record. Any separate conversations need to be removed from the meeting and conducted outside. Outbursts will not be tolerated. Public comment will give each citizen who wishes to speak 3 minutes to do so, and all comments should be directed to the board chair or presiding officer. So with that, we will move into public comment. Oh, one thing before we get started. Elaine called and she's just going to be a few minutes late. She's hoping to be here by 10:30 at the latest 11. So with that, public comment. Is there any public comment?
I'm Penny Matson. I'm a businesswoman. I pay a lot of property tax and concerned citizen about the new position that is supposed to be coming up with this Mr. Halver. I really feel that if you're going to have a position that's going to open up and who knows, pay $40,000 to $60,000 a year, that it should be put out there on and take applications and have interviews and then decide. I don't feel that you just take one person, and I'm not talking anything against him because I do not even know him. But I'm saying is you just don't give that to one person. I know I run a business and have a lot of employees, and how, they can tell you everything you want to hear. They can tell you and they can beef themselves up, and you know what? Once they're in, we got a problem. And it's hard to get rid of, as you guys well know. And my thing is, I think before there's ever a decision made on this, we the people of Broadwater County need to step up and we need to decide how you guys should, help you guys decide on a new position. Have we ever had that position before? I don't think so. And I just feel that I don't want to open a door. I don't think we need to open a door that we can't close later. So that's my feeling on this new position.
Thank you, Penny. Penny, what we do with public comment is we hear all the public comment because that's what it is by definition, and then we do respond to it at the end.
Oh, at the end? Okay.
At the end of public comment, not the end of the meeting.
Okay, after. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dwayne Holm. I'm agreeing with Penny. I think this is against the rules of our law, the county commissioner's law, and I don't believe that anybody should be able to come in, step in and say, okay, this is the job the county needs, and I'm the person for it. That is wrong, very wrong. It's not that, especially a person that has already told people to leave the county if they don't like the taxes, in which I was against raising taxes, and this guy was right there saying, leave, why don't you move? I don't believe that we needed a serpent in here. I would like to make up a job for myself and get paid $50,000 to $60,000 a year. This is not right. It should be out for countywide employment or, nothing else. And as far as bringing in the big guns, it's a threat, not anything else like that. It's a complete threat, and that should not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm gonna hold off on you, John. Is there anyone else? Yes.
I'm Melinda Holm, and I also believe the fact that I think that this is an illegal thing that you guys are doing. This is not the kind of thing that we have, a commission thing that we have. I would like to have a job too and make my own resume up and send it to you and say, here, make up this job. That's not right. I think it's unethical and illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Cheryl Campbell, with regard to this chief administrative officer, your agenda has been very, very obtuse. And so only because some of these people were called are they even aware of what you're even anticipating doing. I agree with Penny, she said it very well for me, thank you.
Hey, any other public comment? John, you got 3 minutes.
John Wright, I'd like to be last, because that way you can pick up all the pieces. I agree totally what Penny said, and the other people have spoke out. We're not following the rules of the regulation of a constitutional county. We're following state statutory, so-called the Constitution. It needs to be corrected, and Laura, you are the one that needs to correct it. But there's another problem here. This individual that's running for this office is running for your office, and he's made a deal with you to drop out if he gets the job.
That is absolutely 100% false you've done, John.
I've
Thank
heard
you.
it.
All right. I don't care if you've heard it. It's 100% false. It is not true, period, end of story.
All of what I said?
Okay. Now, just to answer some of the questions, and give you a little bit of context, I want to just say, first of all, I agree with you guys. First thing, when this kind of happened, there was only one person here from the public. It was Bill Kearns. Nobody else was here. So I'm not sure how this story got started. I'm not sure. It's a very salacious rumor, and that's probably how it's got legs. That's what it is, period. Let me give you just a little bit of context. For the last 3 months, we have been doing a countywide restructuring. It's been almost every other Wednesday, and that's what it's been in the agenda as. We've been looking at a variety of things. What started it was we had a position vacated, that of finance officer, and we decided not to rehire that position, but instead to absorb those duties with employees already on payroll. The idea is, 1, to save money, and 2, we didn't see that it was necessary, as we do have quite a few employees that can do the jobs. So that was what started this. As we got into it, there's some other things that have come forward, that other requests from departments, and I won't go into the list, but one of them was, we have been contracting on an independent basis for HR on one particular issue. That is an expensive way to go. We had an HR professional named Jim Nyes come to see us at our request. He had been working with us for a year, and we talked to him about contracting on a consistent basis. He would do legal HR. There's 2 kinds of HR, administrative HR, which is generally under payroll, and legal HR. He was going to contract legal HR for $14,000 a year. It's a heck of a good price and a lot less than an employee. We don't have any fringe on top of that. It's just $14,400. So that idea did not get through the commission. So the other idea that was proposed was by Mr. Halber. And this was not, the initial idea was one that I think we should at least look at, and that's what we did, and that's what we do. As commissioners, when anybody comes forward with an idea, we listen to them. That's what these meetings are all about. Pick your any Monday. So Mr. Halber came forward and he said, I think you guys could be well served by a chief administrative officer. There's 7 other counties in the state with chief administrative officers that are commissioned form of government, and all it is a position kind of like administrative assistant, only with a different title. That person would be a team leader, would pull things together. What we would do and what we talked about is perhaps we could actually make this an HR position. Bring it in-house since contracting had fallen flat. No decision's been made, not any decision. I think I saw in the paper that it's been advertised. Well, Trudy knows this. Nothing's been advertised. We're not gonna hire anybody for anything without going through the process of advertising, ever, period. Penny, you're 100% right. If you make a mistake in hiring somebody, especially if you haven't gone through the process, you know, getting rid of a bad employee is extremely difficult. It's a long, tiring, exhaustive process. And leaves a lot of ash in its wake. So, I hope that helps. I'm just looking at my notes to make sure that I've covered everything. A, there is no new position. We will follow a process if we decide that this new position is warranted. As far as the agenda goes, what we've been doing is we've been having our working meetings Wednesday, just discussing whatever comes up from our department heads, and then we put it on the next agenda as we're able. That is the only reason it's on today's agenda, is that's the process we've been following. It's against the rules and against the law. It's actually not, but it's really bad practice. We're not going to do it. Let's see. We don't. In the old days, 1950s, you had commissioners who were buddies and they create jobs or protect jobs for their friends. It doesn't happen anymore. There's too many personnel law out there, or too much personnel law out there. There's also a time when your buddy, the commissioner, got your road graded. That doesn't happen today either. We follow a science, and we have a road supervisor that follows a strict guideline that he proposes to the commission every year. So it's a new age, it's a new day. Illegal thing you guys are doing, we're not doing anything. So with that, I hope that clears it up. It will be on the agenda later on today. We will be discussing it. We do have another option for contracting HR too that will come up today at 1:30. I think that's it. So with that, we have been also doing Montana Minute, which did not make the agenda, but because there's no, you know what though, Franklin, did you want to make any comments on any of this?
Yeah, I could talk for quite a little while and lay out a lot of things that took place to put this mess that we're in here. It started about, let's say about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I'm not gonna take the time to do it all right now. I sure would talk with any of you anytime, and my viewpoint will have a lot of that when I put it out. And here's one other thing I was gonna bring up today, and I'll read it off. I got it all right here. I've been against these closed door meetings. I had to go to court on illegal meetings and open meeting laws and stuff like that, and finally win that. But it just keeps carrying on. Here's what I'm gonna read off right now. The end of our Monday, April 14th, 2014 Commissioner meeting, Commissioner Obert, as board chairman, closed the meeting for a so-called constitutional right of individual privacy matter. This is an illegal action by Commissioner Obert because we talked about two matters of significant public interest. One, we were informed about a $5 an hour wage increase requested by Nicole Brown, County Administrator for Planning Economic Development. Individual privacy does not extend to salary or compensation paid to employees. And we discussed the appointment of Roger Halber to a new position called Chief Administrative Officer for the county. Individual privacy does not extend to the hiring of public employees. Both these matters are of significant public interest and must be discussed in an open meeting with public comments allowed. These illegally closed commission meetings by Commissioner Obert must stop. After more than 5 years on the county commission, you would think she'd at least to follow the law by now. And I'm sure I had to read it off because if I start talking, I get carried away in different things, and I always try to have everything right there so I can go straight through on it.
Is that it?
Give us some more.
Franklin?
There'll be more coming.
Franklin, for the record, I do need that for the minutes. Copy of what you just read.
You'll get it later. This is one I want to copy right now.
Okay, for the record, we will get that
Put it
later.
on the record.
Okay. As to the closed door, anytime you are discussing personnel issues it is appropriate to do so in a closed door. The request for a raise was one piece of what we were discussing. The rest of it was personnel issues that are protected by closed door. I am not going to bring up what those were. They were personnel related, job performance related, position related. It was 100% legal, period. As far as the other discussion, that was not even the purpose of the closed door. It was brought up, I recused myself from that, by the way, just because Roger is my opponent, so that goes again to solidify that there's nothing going on there. But Franklin, you're 100% wrong. You can have closed doors for personnel discussions. You have received memo after memo on
This
this.
didn't pertain to that even.
You didn't choose to share the entire discussion or the purpose of the meeting. You took one piece,
I
one
was
little
there.
piece,
I was right there all
and
that time.
exploited it for your own personal agenda and personal vendetta. This is a big job, Franklin, and your ignorance of the process is not something to be held against you, but you really do need to start putting in the time to try and learn this job. This is an important job for the citizens of this county, and you have a job to represent all 6,000 of them, not just your buddies.
And I got a lot of comments from those, I don't know, 6,000, whatever there is. I have a world of comments that come to me weekly. And just another thing, you people out there, I've been in different meetings, I've talked to different commissioners, and I've always brought this up about these closed door meetings. And I'll say, how many closed door meetings do you have? I'll say, well, maybe one, maybe 2 a year. They were going on here monthly or more so.
So what are you saying? We should never, ever have a closed-door personnel discussion? This should be something for the rumor mill to have explosions of rumors develop from nothing like this one we heard so much of today?
That's not what I said.
What are you saying, Franklin? Elaborate.
I stated it, I'm through.
Nothing more?
Let some more, bring more comments out there or whatever.
Laura,
All right, no, we're not having any more comment. Public comment is over.
Dictatorship.
Leadership is right.
We follow a process. It is in the agenda, and this is not going to be a public free-for-all over a rumor that has 2% truth to it and a public statement that has even less than that. With that, we are going to move on. We have been doing what's called Montana Minute. This is something that was started at another meeting, and it is a positive comment about Montana to start our meetings on the right foot. Franklin, do you have anything positive to say about the state of Montana or your county?
Oh, there's a lot of good things, I think there's everything to say.
Nothing to say? Okay. I attended a event put on, sponsored by the Board of Crime Control on Saturday. It's called Do the Right Thing, and it's a partnership between the Board of Crime Control and our schools across the state. Kids who, middle school kids, are asked who have been victims of bullying, abuse of any kind, or have been in the criminal system as far as what they've witnessed or been subjected to, are tasked with writing an essay of their experience. And what has to accompany that is what you learn from it and what you can do as an individual to make a difference. So there were 10 finalists, and they each read their stories at the Exploration Works on Saturday. A boy and a girl are both selected as the winners to represent Montana at a celebration, hopefully to bring about some change in abuse and bullying in Washington, D.C. Last year, one read their story on the floor of Congress, and the other at the Library of Congress. And this year, a boy and girl were selected. The boy was subjected to such horrific bullying that it turned physical and landed him in the hospital for a week, half of which he was paralyzed for because of injuries to his neck. The little girl who spoke, the young lady, She had witnessed a boy, a friend of hers, being bullied. She had stepped up and the group had said, back off or you're next. So she did. The boy's parents moved him out of that school. The next person targeted by this group was the little girl. She was bullied. She then, her parents moved her to another school. While she was being bullied, another little girl stood up and said, stood up for her friend in the group and said, back off or we're gonna come after you next. Well, when this gal who wrote the essay moved, her friend was the next target of the bullying and committed suicide last July. So those are the two stories from Montana that will be going to Washington, D.C. All 10 kids had some really strong ideas on what can be done about some of this stuff. And Brenda Desmond, who is a judge up in Missoula, is going to be starting a community initiative. So we'll keep you guys updated, but they were wonderful stories, heroes who stood up and done the right thing, shown a courage far beyond their years, and it was extremely uplifting for the day before Easter. So I just wanted to share that. It's called Do the Right Thing. I don't know if you've heard of it, Joanne. I imagine you probably have.
That's interesting, and I appreciate that, because we fight that a lot at school.
I bet. I'll get you some information for next year, perhaps. All right. Thanks.
Laura, can I speak a word? She
Nope.
just said-
Next, we have the
You just let her speak?
adjusting journal entries,
Damn.
Act 1015.
What kind of rule is this?
John, I received an email from the county attorney this weekend. It was directed to department heads, and it is specifically to you, and I'm going to ask you to leave this meeting.
You're gonna call the cops again?
Yeah,
I'm right here, John. Okay, is that what you want me to leave?
I do.
You don't respect the thing that I just responded
She
to,
just-
allowed her to speak?
She asked her, she directed to her. She didn't direct to you.
Oh, and
okay?
that makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
I like it. No, I'll leave. Not much here to stay for anyway.
Against dictatorship.
And I'd recommend everybody here to get up and leave, because Laura seems to run the show.
Dictator.
just for some of you who are new, this is a weekly occurrence of disrupting the meetings, and there is law against it. So we are going to try and have a business meeting. What we have next is the adjusting.
Real quick, I asked before about the Montana Minute from being an opportunity to bring something forward. It's good.
You
And-
did, thank you
and,
very much, Tim, I appreciate that
did have a
reminder.
little nibbit here that I would like to offer, maybe not appropriately directly Montana, but it certainly is where we're at. Tim Ravendall,
We can take
on
something
April
positive and yours.
19th, our history has a really solid piece of our American freedom in place. The Battle of Lexington and Green was fought and started to secure our freedom from tyranny, and it is so much a part of where we're at today. And the Patriots joined together and worked together to make our country what it is today. And kudos go out to all the Patriots, even today, that are still standing for that. We have local citizens right here in Broadwater County that made a trip to Nevada to help stand for freedom and liberty. And kudos go out to those Broadwater County residents that did take that trip to do that. So it's all part of the bigger picture, and kudos out to everybody that's serving in uniform to help defend that freedom in the future of our country.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have a Montana Minute they want to share? Nick?
Madam Chair, I didn't attend this year, but the last 2 years I attended Do the Right Thing. And it is a huge blessing to be part of. Those kids, some of the stories, are what the kids have gone through, and others are stories of what their friends have gone through. And it's a huge eye-opener. It's amazing to hear how resilient some of our young people, our junior hires are. But that Do the Right Thing, sponsored by the Board of Crime Control and the Youth Justice Council is a great thing, and it does raise a lot of reduce towards the bullying problems that we have in our schools. So it's a great thing. If you haven't gone to it or heard about it, it's amazing. It really is.
Thank you.
Yep.
And thank you for your continued involvement and all that. I know you do quite a bit in our community.
Thank you.
Yeah. We are actually going to table the adjusting journal entries, if that's all right with you, Frank, and move on to our 10:30 appointment. We have a couple that'll probably be canceled today, so we'll be able to bring that back up. So without any opposition, we'll go ahead and call Nick Corthals. All right, detention, direction on inmate meals.
And I brought Mike with me, because him and I have talked a lot about what we need to do. I've prepared a couple worksheets, well, not worksheets, but information, little sheets that I have. Here's for one, Mr.
Thank you.
Chad. So where we're at the time of the year where we're starting to pay more attention to the budgets, what we're gonna look for next year. In a previous meeting that we had about our inmate meals, we were gonna go ahead and just see where we stood with the prison meals, the food factory there at the state prison, to see if everything still sat in a working place.
Excuse me, Nick.
Yeah.
I guess I can't hear you too.
Oh,
maybe.
sorry.
If you guys want to move up to the front row, you might help a little bit.
Or maybe, yeah, that's it. You just get like that. I think most people can hear it.
So, I got a hold of the gentleman at the prison, that Mr. Joe Melick, who is in charge of this service that is offered to different counties. We do have enough space on their trucks for our facility. The problem is if we continue to wait to see what we're going to do, we could lose that space and we would be out of this opportunity. As you can see in the paper that I gave you, I went through this whole fiscal year with everything with the last 3 months, April, May, and June. Those are not accurate numbers. Right now, we are averaging 36 inmates in our facility this month. That was as of Saturday. So that's the number is in April, that's what you see. Then what I did is I took May and June, they have 31 days in those 2 months. So I took all the months that in the fiscal year and got an average, and 36 is an average for that. So what we're anticipating to pay in food costs this year for our inmates is $211,220 and 20 cents. If we to start this food program with the prison, this next fiscal year 2015, it will cost us for the whole entire fiscal year $124,311.60. So that being said, if we were to keep my detention facility budget the same, with monies that just like it is now, we could save almost $87,000 from switching from the hospital food to going to this food supply that the prison gives us. And the reason why I'm suggesting that we go with the prison meals are 2 reasons. The first reason is it helps build emergency fund when we have months, or if we have another year like we did 2 years ago, where we were really struggling to get paying inmates. I have talked with Lewis and Clark County. I projected 6 to 10 years before they can open up their facility. That gives us 6 to 10 years to prepare for a drought again before we can get paying inmates again. So if we were to save that almost $87,000 at the end of 6 years, we could have over $500,000 in emergency fund to help the facility from being such a drain, because we are probably the largest entity of the county And if I can be responsible enough to save that $500,000, that's almost a whole year's budget, of where we stand right now. Not only is that a good reason, but the second reason is with our jail standards, we are sorely understaffed for the number of inmates that we house. And with us saving that almost $87,000, I can hire the staff that we need. Not only that, raise the staff up to the prevailing wage, which is $14.03 for our district. And I wouldn't have to come and ask the commission for money to do those things. Saving that money, if we were to, I'm anticipating $600,000 in revenue this year. And that's in that second paragraph on this piece of paper. If we were to bring up next pay period, our staff up to prevailing wage, which is $14.06 an hour, or $14.03 an hour, and buy the equipment for the prison jail food, I will still have a surplus of approximately anticipated revenue, $45,000 over what was asked of our facility to generate this year. Friday, myself and Miss Debbie Kelly worked on some numbers in taking into consideration what we have to still pay out of our budget for meals and things like that. We still could have a surplus up to $45,000 adding into those two things. That's bringing our staff up to the prevailing wage, and there's only 8 of them that need to come up to prevailing wage, and that's bringing them up for the entire rest of this fiscal year, and the benefits, as well as buying and going forward with the prison food service. And Mike and I have gotten together and discussed the cooler that is going to be needed to store the food that the prison makes. He's done a lot of research on it, and we did get one quote. We're still waiting on 2 other quotes. The great thing about Mike is, and the reason why I have him at my meeting with us today, is because he can actually put the cooler together. It's something that he's done in the past. He actually has designed and put together larger ones than the one we need. So the cost of us having to have someone put together, we already have Mike to do. We've already mapped out next to our generator building the spot that we're going to need for the cooler. And Mike can also do all the prep work and the cement work that we're going to need for that to be done. So all those things are in place with Mike's help. And he can do, the only things that we probably would have to hire out would be,
The oven, the electrical,
yep,
because they're coming down from the main panel,
and then hooking up to,
probably hooking up to this.
and hooking up to the generator
Out of
building.
the generator building.
We have to get a permit for both these things.
So what I'm requesting today in today's meeting is with the information, and I have all the paperwork that Miss Kelly and I did together. I should have made a copy for you guys, but I can make copies. This is the worksheet she made, and those are the employees that are under the prevailing wage. And just a little history of why we need to go with the prevailing wage is we have 2 positions opened up in our facility right now to try to get us in compliance with our new jail standards. We have one that accepted the job, the other one turned it down because of the pay. We pay $12.25 an hour for a detention officer. Lewis and Clark County starts out at $17.08 an hour, and they only have 6 more beds than we do. Jefferson County, who can only house 20 inmates, start their staff at $14.95 an hour. With the exception of one county, we're the lowest paying county in the state. Next year, we will be the lowest paying county in the state for detention staff. So that really hinders the type of people that apply for a position that honestly deserves more than $12.25 an hour. And especially if everything goes along and they raise the minimum wage like they want to, we'll only be I think not even $1 over what minimum wage is gonna be. So, those are two huge problems that I have. Keeping staff, because the rate of pay, we've lost 2 employees to Lewis and Clark, because they pay, I mean, they pay pretty nice. They pay almost as much as we pay a deputy. And that's just to work in the detention center. And they only have 6 more beds than we do. So it's not like, granted, yes, they have a bigger tax base. I understand everything that goes into play in that, but we're doing the same jobs. And that's a huge red flag for me. The other question that has been brought to light, what about the union Me Too clause? In our contract, if you look at our contract, it states in the contract that if a new position, a new responsibility, or prevailing wage is the idea of the raise, then the Me Too clause does not apply. So we would not have to be forced with another grievance from the union side of the fence because that's right there in their own union contract. So we can raise them to the prevailing wage for our district without having any repercussions from the union. So I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of my homework on this. I see this going this direction as the best way for me as your chosen detention administrator to not only save money, but run that facility the best of my ability. And with Mike's expertise in doing a lot of the things, some of those costs are going to be down and very minimal. And we already have the $30,000 to start this project. So again, I'm not asking the commission for any money. I'm not here to ask for money today. I'm here just to go the way that I think the best for our facility is, and to run this facility without being such a drain on this community. And with going this direction, as in the last paragraph, I've asked us to do, that's the only way that I can foresee us keeping above the game. I really do. And if we for the next 6 years, just keep, there's certain things that will have to change. Mike and I have discussed Jerry, the part-time employee that we've already taken out of the detention budget to make him up to where he needs to be more effective. Certain things will have to go up for my budget, but if we were to keep it somewhat the same, we'd still have a surplus of almost $87,000 for the next 6 years. And that would definitely be beneficial for our agency, our community, that we can, I'm not asking for money, I'm asking to save money, and the only way that our facility can save the money. Because I do have to hire, I have to hire the appropriate staff, I have to. We've adopted as the community, the jail standards, I have to hire the staff. And at $12.25, I'm not getting staff that I would like to work in our facility. Just for example, I had 6 people, I had 12 people apply for the job. I had 6 people that were good enough that didn't have a criminal history or something in their initial background to work in the facility. And 3 said that they'd do an interview, 2 showed up for the interview, 1 turned the job down because of pay. So I went from 12 to 6 to 2 to 1 in the matter of a week. And the type of people that are applying are people that we've had in our facility, are known drug users, stuff like that. I can't have those type of people working in our facility. So bumping that up to the prevailing wage will definitely open up our options because think about it, it's about $6 We add that 14, you're looking at about $21, $22 an hour, including benefits. That's a very good wage for towns in Montana. That's what I'm asking the commission today, is that we go ahead with the jail food, the prison food plan, and allow me to bump my staff up to the prevailing wage. I have talked with the hospital. They asked that if we did decide to go this route, that we wouldn't do it until the next fiscal year. I have no intentions until doing it for the next, because we're not gonna see any savings unless we wait until the next fiscal year. This is the best way I can see fit for us to go this route. And with Mike's expertise, like I said, him and I have talked the last 2 weeks on this project in particular. And he's made some changes already to our detention building, so we have a spot for the cooker. And we've already been outside looking at for where the cooler would go.
Which is something you're gonna have to do before too long before they get ready for the asphalt.
Yeah, we're grinding last week of May. So it'll be the first week of June looking for.
So this is something obviously we've talked about many times.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
not new to the commission. As far as the second request you have, it's not on the agenda, so we
Okay.
can't make a decision
You
on
bet.
that today. But we will put it on the agenda for next Monday.
Perfect.
As far as the inmate meals, I understand that, in order to get a contract, you need to get on there before they filled out with
Yes,
somebody
ma'am.
else. So that's the urgency, even though you're going to implement it the beginning of the fiscal year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And that's honestly, and that's the urgency, you're correct, because if any facility that they already have, which is Butte, Lewis and Clark, the pre-release center there in Helena, everyone with the exception of Gallatin County, because if you've been to Gallatin County's facility, they have their own kitchen, so they cook their own meals. Their facility is amazing. If any one of those agencies grow, we lose our spot. So this is something that I need direction on, because without this, I don't know how else to serve you the best way I can.
when you first took this position, you told us you were going to treat it like a business.
Yes, ma'am.
This is part of that.
Okay.
This is making a hard decision, but one that, there's kind of a thought with some of the different groups in town. If we can save no less or no more than 20%, the business stays local.
Yes, ma'am.
If we can save a substantial amount by going out, then businesses do, groups do, individuals do. This is substantially more than 20%.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's keeping with a community practice. The other thing, off this topic, but your training costs. When you go through the process to hire, and there's a cost to that, and then you go through training a new hire, there's certainly a cost to that. Then you equip that new hire, again, there's a cost to that, and then they move because of pay. That's also costing you, and that's part of the formula
Yes,
that we
ma'am.
need to look at next Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could we get copies of that
Yes, ma'am.
for next Monday?
You bet.
All right. Franklin, any further
One
comments?
thing I suggest in this, Me Too clause, get that in writing from them so we wouldn't have to.
It already is.
Oh.
It's right in the contract. If we look at the contract, and I should have brought one over, but it says right in there that if it's for a prevailing wage, a new job, or like if I get promoted, the Me Too clause does not count. And it's right there in black and white. So I've
And have
talked.
you talked to them too?
Yep, I've talked with everyone that I've needed to talk to, and we are definitely in the clear.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Anything more on the prison meals, Franklin?
No, I think everything is, like we discussed since 6-8 months ago, it was pretty much, I feel it's been pretty much a go all the time. We're just getting down to the final part of it. And probably the first thing is with Mike getting that little slab out there.
Mike has a process in mind, right, with the
Mhm.
grinding and,
Yeah,
yeah.
have it all laid out.
All right, in order to take any discussion, we do need a motion on the table.
Okay, I'll so make a motion motion, everything would pretty much pertain to. Oh, the main part is to get it so you can get this on the schedule.
With-
No, yeah, sorry.
And I was just gonna say, what we need is just a motion that says that we are going to move ahead, instruct Nick to move ahead with opening a contract for prison meals.
Okay, I'll so move for that.
All right, I will second that motion. Is there any public discussion, Tim?
I just wanted to ask Nick or Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall, in the many discussions that I've been sitting and listening to on this matter, one of the main concerns has been the impact to the hospital by making this switch. And Nick has been very well at bringing forward that issue in the discussion. I guess my question is have we actually had the hospital give us, as citizens, an actual fiscal impact statement, if you will, on what this, because I guess my question in framing it for the discussion, if we're going to save $87,000 a year in the detention center by moving to the prison meals, that potentially is $87,000 that's being shifted as a drain, if you will, on another county entity. And so has that, as commission, Madam Chair, do we have what that impact is going to be in next fiscal year if this doesn't take place in next fiscal year?
That has been
That
one
really
of,
hasn't been openly shown.
it's been openly discussed quite a few times, yes. There is going to be an impact. It's one of the things that makes this such a hard decision. It's one of the reasons that it hasn't been done in the past. But Nick has been working consistently and constantly with both Jenny, the CFO, Jenny Kraus, and Kyle Hofstad, the CEO, on this. Do you have anything you want to add, Nick, from
I
the
do.
conversations?
The bear tax is, either way, if we continue down this road, the Broadwater Detention Center is gonna be a drain on this community. There's no way around that. If we do not make a change, the detention center will take away from dollars, because there's gonna come a time when we're not gonna be getting the paying customers, because Lewis and Clark's looking to build a new facility. You have Gallatin County that took back their paying inmates, so we're right in the middle. So, and it's really expensive to house your inmates somewhere else. It's right around $66 a day, and that's just to house them. That's not taking into consideration me transporting, wear and tear on our vehicles. There's a whole bunch of things that come into play in this. It's either our facility, which is a beautiful facility and is run very well. The commission have been very helpful in bringing that facility up to where it needs to be ran. It is going to cost 1 to 2 jobs over at the health center. That they were just honest with me, and I understand that. It's 1 to 2 jobs at the health center, or four jobs at the detention center, and that's sort of where we're at. It's sort of a give and take. The conversations I've had with Kyle and with Jenny, right, was that they don't make a lot of money off of my meals, because what they have to provide to me at $5.50, they still can't order the food at that cost. So they have to hire employees to make the meals for us. They really don't make a lot of money off our meals. What our money does is it pays other areas of the hospital. So that's how this works, is they're not making really money off our food. They're taking the money that they do bill us for the food, and they use that money in other areas of their hospital. It does not go right back into their food service. So it is going to be a hit, and that was one of the hardest decisions that I've made as the administrator of the facility, is because I understand it's going to be a hit. It's either going to be a hit for the hospital, or it's going to be a hit for our facility. And my job is to run the facility as I've been asked to by the commission and by the undersheriff and sheriff. And that's what I'm trying to do. This is a business. as much as it is a profession, this is a business. So, to answer your question, it is gonna be a hit. They are gonna, it might cost 2 people their jobs at the health center. And that's just that's the information that they've shared with me.
The other thing too that I think should be shared with a lot of you who haven't been here before is we've talked a lot about the money saved, the cost. One of the things that's on the piece of paper here that we used to realize is anticipated inmate revenue being approximately $600,000 this year. Now, of course, you have to take out overhead and food from that, and the numbers that we've been discussing. But one thing that you guys need to understand is when we collectively have to lock up somebody in our detention center who's a local, we pay for that. We pay for their food, everything else. When Lewis and Clark, Department of Corrections, another county sends their people to us, they pay us $65 a day to cover. The surplus that, there is a surplus that is beyond the overhead and the food and the water and the propane. That goes to actually help pay for Broadwater County people locked up. So that detention center has potential, has in the past, and will this year actually realize a net gain for the detention center. So even though we're talking big numbers, the gross income will be about $600,000. So,
And that, that's just an estimate. Right now we're averaging in our facility, we're averaging this month, and we're only halfway through the month. We have 2 weeks left, a week and a half. Almost 40 inmates. 39 of them are paying inmates. For us to almost break even, I need to have 12 paying inmates. We're right around 12, I think it was.
yeah.
So if we continue down this road, and for the next 6 years we will, 6 to 10 years we will, we have a possibility of saving this community a chunk of money, almost $500,000 worth of money.
And if we had to ship our people to Bozeman, for example, to start it would be $65. They charge other counties $128, so that could change. But we estimated a couple of years ago that would be about $118,000, if I'm not mistaken, that we'd have to pay out of the general fund. So this is a savings for citizens. Tim?
Real quick
question?
follow-up, Madam Chair. Just, I guess to rephrase my point that I was attempting to make there, is as the county commissioners representing the taxpayers of Broadwater County, I fully appreciate what Nick has done with the detention center and his plan. I support that savings. I mean, it just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. It's good management. My question is we have a drain on the county with what's going on at the hospital, has been for several years, and my concern is that we don't lose factor. If we ship the donkey up in behind the horse or whatever, that has to just be looked at. And if it's 2 employees versus losing 4, math is math, but I feel that there is just need to make sure that we don't lose that part of the equation. And I appreciate Nick, like I said in the beginning, for having that discussions and looking at that. It's a serious matter, but it is an impact to the county. They have been here multiple times looking for funding, and I'm sure they'll be back for more.
Let me just bring a little fact forward for you. Again, we have been working hand in hand with the hospital. We collectively, and Kyle mostly, Nick and Jenny. So this is not something where it's just shooting from the hip. As far as we have a drain on the county or the community, I think we heard just last week that the hospital is actually doing pretty well. They had a net profit in January that was not related to any kind of loan. So I don't think that's necessarily accurate. We did have a business, a $4 million business that hit absolute bottom. It takes a while to build back up, and that's the process we're in. But I'm not sure, we're gonna get an update today at lunch. I'm not sure it's accurate to say it's a drain on the community. So I just wanna make sure that that's nothing erroneous is
Perception.
All right, so we have a vote on the table. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then, I'll be back Monday to discuss the other issue.
Okay.
And then, I really do appreciate everything, the commission's doing to help, us get to a point where we're at. Thank you so much.
You make a good partnership.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for all you've done.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, our next appointment is at 11 o'clock. And that is Scott Dunning, lead supervisor, budget amendment. He is actually going to table that for when we do all the budget amendments all at once. Talked to this board on Thursday night, I believe, about that. So we have about 15 minutes before our next appointment. And one thing I forgot to do, and I apologize, had kind of a ruckus beginning today. We have minutes from April 14, 2014. These were shipped out via email early in the week.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Just a quick question on your budget amendment with the weed department. You say there's other departments that are coming in for an amendment process?
It's something we do every single year at the
I
end of the
understand.
fiscal year.
I
What
get
it is
Okay, my question is when is that scheduled, or do you have that
it's
scheduled
not scheduled
yet?
at this point.
Thank you.
We don't have a budget manager yet, and that would be their job to actually do that, so that's step one. Step two will be to start the budget process, and then step three will be to do the budget amendments. And just for everybody to know, anytime during the year, and we had evaluated the budget last meeting, some line items, publishing and postage, is almost consistent with all our departments, is running in a negative. We do bottom line budgeting, so we look at the total for that budget. If it's above 25% at this point of the year, remaining into positive, or at least they're on track. Most of our departments are well above that, which is a good thing. But they have those two line items that are negative, so a budget amendment will just shift money from another line item that has a surplus into those with a negative. In evaluating the budget, it wasn't anything that alarmed us, but that's just the process. And it happens every single year, so we spend a meeting doing budget amendments just to shift the money within budgets. So just to bring you guys up, do you have a motion on the minutes?
Now we need to approve the minutes.
Okay, I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 14, 2014. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I did, I said.
Oh, aye. Motion carries. Can you hand those back to me, please? I'll sign them. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. All right, next we have mail. We have a letter from Commissioner Van Happel of Madison County, and he has provided a video called Crying Wolf for all commissioners in Montana. That is down in the commissioners' meeting room, and anybody is welcome to see that at any time. Send that to you. We also have a notice, this is for the TV board, which is the three commissioners serve as the TV board, and it is to notify us that our renewal for a variety of different licenses has been approved. One of the things that we don't have right now is PBS. There's been a lot of requests for PBS. This is one of the things we were waiting on in order to get PBS. We're hoping to go ahead and use one of these for that purpose. And that's the CBS, ABC, and Fox from Butte. And this mail is in our office all week for us to review at any time. Next, we have a letter from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And this is just for our records to share projects that our ongoing Forest Timber Management Officer, Bob Johns, is the contracting officer. And this is a set-aside program analysis reports, and it's for Beaverhead Deer Lodge, Custer Gallatin, Helena, and Lewis and Clark National Forests. Next, we have from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality, a request, actually a withdrawal of a draft discharge permit for Knoxon, Montana, the Rock Creek Line Road project. This is not in Broadwater County, it's still sent to all counties. If you have a friend that lives there, you might just let them know. This is a letter from the Office of the Governor of the State of Montana. On behalf of the State of Montana, it's my pleasure to notify you that Broadwater County has been selected for a Treasure State Endowment Program planning grant award in the amount of $15,000 for the preparation of a preliminary engineering report for the bridge system. That's what we worked with Sean Higley on, and it is related to the Deep Creek Mitigation Project. That grant will act as match for the big grant.
So that was the approval for the
Yes.
$15,000 planning grant?
Correct. A match of $15,000 to be covered by Montana Business Assistance Connection.
And that's through DEQ or NRC?
I think it's Department of Commerce.
Oh.
So look at trees.
Next, we have from, this is the Intermountain Restoring Hope for Children. It is my pleasure to invite you to a dedication of Intermountain's 2 new residential treatment cottages in Helena. This will be this coming Friday, April 25 at 2:30. Next, we have a proclamation. And this is done annually. Whereas the first Thursday in May, which this year is May 1st, 2014, has been designated as the National Day of Prayer for the United States. And whereas this observance has been made for over 60 years, it appears appropriate that this time be used to acknowledge our gratitude and despondence and dependence, on an almighty power that has preserved and protected this great country. And whereas this short, non-denominational gathering sponsored by the Townsend Ministerial Association gives all people of all faiths an opportunity to share with our friends and neighbors our gratitude for the benefits we have and to give thanks for the privileges we treasure. Now therefore be it resolved that Thursday, May 1st, 2014 has been designated as the National Day of Prayer, and everyone in Broadwater County and the City of Townsend is invited to a service at 1210 at the Broadwater County City of Townsend Fire Hall on South Cedar Street to join neighbors and friends in prayer and thanksgiving, given this 18th day of April in the year of our Lord 2014. So I guess first off, is there any public comment on this particular proclamation?
Yes.
Okay, Franklin, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, accept that proclamation for that, I think a prayer, whatever, I can't remember the date, May.
May 1st. Okay, I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to sign the proclamation declaring May 1st as the designated National Day of Prayer for the United States and Broadwater County. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we have a couple of claims that just need signature to go into the claims pile. The reason we do this is because they actually come from the commissioner's budget, and we don't have the chairman initial and sign for a double check. So if you could just give those a signature. We have claims in the amount of $45,157.98.
Was that claim or was that payroll?
That's claims.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Pay a claim of $145,000, whatever you just said there.
$45,157.98. I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay those approved claims. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This is something that we also do annually. This is from the Department of Public Health and Human Services. This is the designated county earmarked alcohol tax money for Broadwater County. With it is a report. And what we have is a contract of sorts, instructions for service provider county designation forms. What we need to do is just fill this out and sign it. It is due by this Friday. What I would like to do is have you look at this and then table it until Wednesday, if that's all right with you. That way, you and Elaine can both give it a review, and we can all share our opinions on how to follow through with that. And we have payroll for pay date 4/15 in the amount of $148,026.30. I think so too. I'm thinking it just didn't get taken out of the folder. Never mind. Wondered why it was already signed. It's a little worrisome. I think you probably would, yes. All right, we are just a few minutes early. Do you have any questions on that before we move on, Franklin?
No, I understand. This should.
I think we're close enough. The bottom of our agenda says these issues and times are subject to change. So with that, at 11:14, Sharon Walker, Community Gazebo at Silos Recreation. Come on up.
So you want me to speak from here, but.
What's
From
that?
here?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. How are you? Want me to wait till you?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm still listening. And first I have to apologize. I had to take some medicine to get it kick in before I could come.
Well, I wish I had some of yours at this point. Yours, I'm gonna keep yours for a second. if
Sure.
I can.
Absolutely.
This is an update on the community gazebo project, which we are proposing for the Silos Recreation Area. To update you, since you have seen this, it's changed a little bit. The project, as projected, is the same. We've had some good news. On the projected costs, the Bureau of Reclamation has a 30 by 50 structure frame, which they are willing to, I was gonna say donate, but they're going to own it anyway, so, but it is 30 by 50. We will need to put on the sides and do the cement and the things to put it together. But that saves, they value it at about $30,000. So that is a great addition to the budget and to our ability to be able to do it. They also, by giving it to us, they have also indicated that they are in favor of the project, although it has to go through the normal BOR procedures. And I'll preface this by saying, part of what this is an update with your approval. This then goes with a letter from the commission to the BOR, and then the BOR process starts after that, which means they look at it, then they send it to Billings, they look at it, and when Billings approves it, there is a series of events. I'm sure there'll be a public comment part of their approval process, then it comes back as approved. This process, as Bill and Sean were saying, could take probably 30 to 60 days. We're hoping that it would be sooner than that, but the process is the process. So, both walleye clubs, Upper Missouri River of Helena and Gallatin Madison of Bozeman, have both donated quite a bit of money to this project. They feel it's important, as do we, not only to provide a picnic area, but also hopefully to get some of the kids off the docks, the main docks, which are getting busier and busier, and providing another area for them to recreate and to fish, and to hopefully, we feel that somewhere along the line, we've actually dodged a bullet on kids being in the bay with swimming and their recreation while we've got boats coming in. And as we know, with Moose Bay being closed now, we've got more and more boats. I would probably say 30% more boats going in and out, and people bobbing up and down and waiting for their turn at the dock. So the two walleye clubs together have pledged over $15,000, and they have committed to those. So that was a great boon also. The rest of the work is going to be done through, if approved, the community or the trust board, your trust board, has approved $25,000 toward this project, meeting which I went to last Wednesday. So they have approved it also. So up till this point, we have approvals all the way up. Then it goes into the public process where, as I described, it goes to BOR, who sends it to BOR, who goes through community comment and whatever other process that they need. We also have, also from BOR, which is nice, we have picnic tables, which doesn't sound like a lot, except the picnic tables that they would want us to buy, the commercial used ones, are almost $1,000 a piece. So we're talking $5,000 there, which is really, really nice. The rest of it will be done by volunteer labor. Primarily, the Walleye Club has agreed that they will, when it's put up, when it's approved, come out and help with the cement work, which is a huge amount of actually labor, and a lot of their money will go to that. Other than that, the process will continue. We feel, and I say we, the Walleye Clubs, feel that it will be a good addition to the community. It will provide a place where families can go, where their kids can fish, where kids that want to come out. So there's a safety issue, and there's also just a community interest issue. I know there's been some concern, the north ramp, we're proposing that it go in the far north ramp. Now that the gazebo is only going to be 50 feet long instead of the original 100 feet long, which we had originally and sort of arbitrarily talked about just because it seemed like a nice look at the time. The north ramp will not need to be blocked off, so people that wish to can still launch boats on the north ramp. Now that it's 50 feet, which is longer than this, I guess, we'll be able to block off only the part of it between where they would launch the boats and the gazebo. And I've had Roger go down and a couple of other people to make sure that you can get a boat in, turn around and come back safely without encumbering the people that would be using the gazebo. So we wanted to make sure that those that were afraid that the north ramp was not going to be able to be used at Lori. So I guess what I am asking at this point is that it be passed along in the process with the approval of the commission to the BOR so it can start its process there. Projected completion date would be when we get the blessing of the last person who needs to bless it. Then it will come back and we'll be ready to hopefully proceed with it at that point.
So it'll be most of the summer before you can have it,
Hopefully not, but
realistic.
realistic. Well, if the 30 days started when they got it, if it were to go out and the 30 days started, I know that Sean and Bill have been advised all the way along, and they have stated to us that they are in favor of us, or in favor of the project, hence the donation already of that. So I'm assuming it will get out of their office fairly quickly. And I can't assume anything further than that, except that with their backing, I believe that hopefully that the process may occur more quickly, but I don't know. We're ready to jump on it whenever it comes back to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So you won't be able to start until then.
we can't do a thing.
And obviously, Sean and Bill have both been in contact with Billings,
I assume so.
that they're willing to put up money.
I assume so. I can just assume so. I don't know. I didn't know if they were going to be here or not. But Sean has said to me, and Bill was at the trust board meeting, Sean and Bill, and so they've been through all this presentation. I would have guessed at that point, I would have guessed that at some point, if there was a block coming up, we have to, obviously we have to do it. Sean has already sent me the specs for building the building, how we do the concrete, how the forms are fed, what we need to do. So to get this much information and then to find a block somewhere along the line, I'm guessing it would just be procedure, that we have to do this, we have to make sure the wind shear is correct, and the details concerning the construction of it, which were the same as the ones for gazebo 4 that was built. I think Dan Spence was in charge of that when gazebo 4 was built. So beyond that, I can only assume. It's hard to get a definitive yes or no, because they will say it, and they have said it has to go through the billings process, which will then incur specifics. I'm guessing you have to do this and this, follow these rules. The public comment, which I understand is a part of the process. That's as good an answer as I have, Elaine.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
I would like
just-
to say I know something more definitive, but I don't.
Well, and there's no doubt in my mind that they've been in contact with Billings.
I would think so, if they've
I'd be
gone that
shocked.
far to offer us the structure itself. I'm not sure about the picnic tables, but to me, that's huge, because that, I mean, that was $5,000 that I didn't have to allocate from trust fund or trust board funds. And, because I wanted to be able to ask the trust board to show them that we basically, the trust board, we've got more than a 50-50 match at this point, which is sort of unusual to go in and ask for the trust board and not have it be voluntarily making up those funds. So the Walleye Clubs were very generous in their donation there.
Just one more question. I just commented, I think it's gonna be a win-win for everybody.
Thank you, I do too. I do too.
And with a view of closing here on the other end, you're gonna get hit even harder.
Well, and having just made in the last 5 days, in the month of June and July, for all the 4 gazebos out there, times 4 weekends, I think we have 1 gazebo that has 1 weekend available,
Period.
period. And August is also filling up, Memorial Day is filling up, so that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing for everybody, but it to me, it defines the need for at least someplace else.
When are the dogs gonna be moved? Do we know yet? Is it getting closer?
Actually, well, the big question is when there's gonna be water in the lake. Mhm. The dock process, Laura and I filled out the application, or the, I suppose application, the questionnaire, for the proper procedures for Fish and Wildlife. Who we send it to?
NRCS, Fish and Wildlife, and Army Corps of Engineers.
Telling them, we have all the specs, we had all the, it was actually a fairly straightforward questionnaire, because we're not really impacting things that they were as concerned about, the, you know, wildlife, the vegetation, whatever. And so, the direct answer is when we get water, and it is the lowest. We've been discussing it today. I have never seen it in the time that we've been here, this low.
Really?
We are now to the point where, unless you have a jet boat, a raft, or a canoe, the only place to get in on the lake is Yacht Basin. And so, unfortunately for Mary the Axmans and everybody else, it's pretty dry right now. So as soon as that is accepted, and we're all set to go. And we've got John Palmer, he has done work for the commission before, for the county before, and, oh, that's right, that's the update. The trust board also accepted, what we're going to do on his fees is, and I don't know whether this will come up here, they're going to, give the commission the amount. His bid was 14.4, and I have raised 3,000 so far to pay for the docks being installed. And what we're going to do, since his bid, it wasn't higher than I thought it was going to be, it was a different way. We're putting them in now a better way, a way that will allow the docks, like the ones that are currently there, they rise and lower with the levels of the lake, which is a much better way than they were installed at Goose Bay for us, that is. So the remaining funds, which I don't have, I've asked the trust board to essentially, I suppose the word would be lend, but lend to the project, and then they will be paid back immediately from the sales of the docks, which I already have. As of this morning, out of 40, I have 31. So those funds will be paid back immediately. I have not taken any funds from those people until I see the docks in the bank. So that was good. So that's taken care of and nicely tied up, so when we get the acceptance back from the permits that we were defining.
You could be up to a month waiting for high water, right?
I hate to say the word yes, but yes.
But realistically.
When I think Sean and Bill were at the meeting, either during it or afterwards, he said, there will be full pool by Memorial Day. However, that's a long time for a lot of us. So, but yeah, it could be. It could be. The response from, I had one of my guests email the BOR and say, why? And I actually put the response out, and essentially what they're saying is snowpack is 137%, so they're prepared for snowpack. I don't know whether that's the party line or not. I know they have other contracts downstream, but right now we're in mud. So, and none of the work, unfortunately, can be done until we have water.
Mhm.
Even the installation, because until we get the docks over here, we can't put the attachments one on the other
Right,
until we actually have the structures here.
makes sense.
I just hate to say yes. I don't want it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
No.
The 30 days part, but yes, it could
I'm
be.
not trying to be
I
cold
know.
water.
I know.
Just,
It could be. So, but we have our volunteers set to bring the docks over. They know what they're doing, so everything's in place. We're just waiting for water.
and how long will it take them to bring them over?
A day.
Just one whole day?
Yeah, not thinking they want to spend the night out there, and it's only seven miles or so. So they project if we can get a nice calm day with water.
There's a lot of ifs in there.
I know that. But yes, and they've done it before. Both the gentlemen that are going to do it have moved them before. One of them has actually moved those docks for Jerry Reller when he owned them, and the other one worked for the Forest Service for many years, owned a marina for 20 years, and he's moving too.
Good.
So,
Well, good luck to you.
that's what everyone says.
No, I don't mean it
Thank
negatively.
you, I know. No, I know that. And I'm sure it will go just fine. Just as soon as we have water. I even heard, for what it's worth, at White Earth, I had somebody drive up to White Earth, because everyone's been asking, is there any place? Total mud flats at White Earth also, so we're all in the same boat. Or
So to
not,
speak.
as it were. We're all in the same raft.
Right.
I didn't realize it was that low.
It is that low. It is amazing.
Hmm. Well, it will change.
Thank you. So that's what I am requesting. The end of this is that it continues on up the process with your approval to the BOR.
Also move.
All right. Do you second?
Well, I got some question here first. I just read through this here, and there's quite a few questions come up apparently from citizens in the Silos area.
And I would like to actually hear from those citizens, but we can't do that until we have a second on the motion. As soon as we have that, then I would like to actually hear from those citizens and share what Sean and Bill have said about this as well.
Well, I think we better hear from them first. Is there people there that's gonna,
Franklin, we follow
Yeah, that's
Robert's Rules of Order. We get a second to the motion, and then we have discussion. So as soon as we have a second, we will have discussion. And that's how we've been doing it since.
I'll second this, get on to the discussion
Okay,
then.
thank you very
before we
much.
vote.
All right, so with that, I know we have some discussion here. Al, do you want to take the stand first? Take the floor?
You've all got the letter that I wrote. It's actually to a large degree similar to the letter I wrote last year. or the one I wrote. Because of perception, okay? The perception is the gazebo that's proposed right now is a piecemeal of the large proposal that was made last year. And we had similar issues. Our primary issue is, yes, there's safety. I don't know what building the gazebo has to do with safety of people jumping off the docks. But there are a whole bunch of issues there that deal with where you put a gazebo out there. First of all, we aren't opposed to a gazebo. Just let's talk about where are all the alternatives out there and what kinds and that kind of stuff. That discussion has not occurred. There's been no open discussion about what the alternatives are, where to put them, those kind of things. The proposal you have before you shows road closures at the gazebo. There's no discussion in that proposal, other than what Sharon has said, about impacts to boat ramps, about impacts to overnight camping units, and there are 4 or 5 of them right there. Which one's an overnight handicap site? Which one, there aren't very many of them out there. Where those go. And if those are gonna remain, how do you cordon off the day use from overnight use? Because I can tell you from a long time of managing recreation areas, you do not want to overlay day use on top of designated overnight use. That's why I think the master plan put all the day use on the 2 ends. There's a reason for that. If you ask Cheryl, and we did, not Cheryl, Brenda, about putting day use on top of overnight designated use, she said, don't go there, don't do that. So I think if you look at the master map, there are what, I don't know, 15 gazebos identified out there to put in there, some number. There are lots of places to put them. I just think that you as commissioners, before you vote on a letter of support or approval, need to understand what you're approving. Now, the trust board, after a discussion with them, came out with their recommendation of approving the money wherever it goes out there, not for this site. They were very clear, because after we raised the issue, they were very clear, said, well, we need the gazebo, and there isn't anybody gonna argue with that out there. The discussion is whether this is the place that you put a gazebo in. So far, that's the only proposal that's been made, and nobody has listened to alternatives to that spot. And that's what we are saying needs to happen. There needs to be an open discussion. I think you guys as commissioners, because if you listen to the discussion about the boat ramp, At the trust board meeting, there was also a discussion, well, if the people want to swim, we can go put some buoys out there. Well, all of a sudden, you're buying into supporting the swimming area. I don't know if you want to do that. That's your choice. I'm just saying that's something you need to think about. So there's issue in my mind, and Sharon can answer them for you, about whether or not those overnight camping areas are going to be closed and destroyed or gone out with. If they're not, then you're putting a designated day use, concentrated day use, right in with the camping units. I don't think that's a good thing. There are alternative places out there to put gazebos where you won't have that issue. There are places to put the gazebo where Sharon could build the playground that she proposed a year ago that wouldn't have any issues with boaters, with ramps. It'd be out of the way with roads. You wouldn't have people crossing roads to get to the outhouse. Here you got two of them. And those roads get used not only by trucks with trailers, with campers and boats, even though it's day use, they still haul them out there. And four-wheelers flying up and down there. I know Sharon can talk about how fast they go because she's got people that try and monitor that. It's outside of her area, and I understand that. She has the permit for the designated date or designated camping. So what's available outside that? I mean, there are already designated day use areas. Let's take a look at those and see if those don't fit. So before you vote, I want you to think about what it is you're supporting. I have no problem with gazebos. I would help raise money to put gazebos out there in the right places where everybody thinks that's where they ought to go. So, you got my letter. It's got my other stuff.
Thank you, Al. Any other public comment? Tim?
Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall, early on in the discussions of this gazebo and concerns over the north boat ramps and some of those things have been discussed, and I commend Sharon for doing everything that she has to try and bring this to the table. One of the questions I ask is, under our structure, we have our Parks and Recreation Board, and early on, this Parks and Recreation Board showed concern, frankly, that they were not being part of this process. And so there don't appear to be anybody, well, okay, excuse me. We do have somebody from the Parks and Rec Board, so maybe it would be beneficial for the commission to make sure that before you make a decision, to hear from the Parks and Rec Board on what their position and what their findings have been in looking into this. I apologize, I'm coming in behind the boat here again, pun intended on the boat, because I haven't been to the Parks and Recreation Board meetings in a while, so I don't know as a citizen, what's going on there.
And any other public comment? Yes.
Yes, Bob Hollister. I live in the Silos area, and I concur with Al's letter as far as that gazebo needs to be away from that boating area totally. There are nice beaches back on the south end there where there's a day use area. That's the kind of place we need to have kids swimming, not around the boating areas at all. And we are short of launching areas. You know, it's fast became a great place to come for the weekend and for boating, and the number of boats is multiplying whenever we have water. That part of that area that clear over there by the north ramp is just plumb filled with boat trailers and pickups and everything out every weekend. So I think it does deserve a good look by the commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I respond to Al?
Sure.
One of the things, and this isn't, it just enters into it, both the day use areas, and it isn't my permit, it's I don't have a permit, I have a contract, but those are part of the management area for, in other words, both day use areas that they're talking about is not part of the management contract with the BOR and the county. So they aren't even part, now they could be, but we've asked for a couple of years, I say it's been in discussion, and the day use areas have not been annexed in to that management agreement, and I don't know why. We have requested it of the county because it needs to be kept clean, and there are no facilities down there, so, and this is, it is an argument, it's just a, you know, I would have no problem, I was just dealing with what we had. And this is the only thing that the commissioners and the commission in the current contract have a purview over, is this land, you know, that's between the two day use areas. So that was the only thing applicable that the county would have anything to say anything about at all. Otherwise, it'd be going to the BOR, and I don't have legal access to the BOR. So if that were to happen, I mean, it could come from a community group